Will the Cowboys be able to do what has not been done since 2004 in 2024? And that is winning the NFC East in back-to-back years. Let's get to it. Here we go. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A-to-Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. And during the week, catching up with you guys with quick-hitting videos such as this one on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Welcome, everyone, into the show. Today, we had a fun exercise published on A2Zsports.com, and that was NFC East record predictions. So our Eagles writer turned in her prediction for the Eagles record. So did the Commanders writer. I did Cowboys and Giants. And then we put it all together. And that's how we determined who was going to win the division and all that. Tonight, I'll talk about that. But also, I will be adding my own opinions to, for example, the Eagles record, the Commanders record, since they were not done by me. It's a fun exercise, I think, and we've talked a lot about the Cowboys. Why not talk about what surrounds them? Going into 2024, I don't think things have changed a whole lot. Once again, it seems like it's going to come down to the Cowboys or the Eagles as the NFC East champions. We'll talk more about the Commanders, the Giants later on in the show, but honestly, I think that's the obvious part. That's what we all know about the NFC East. It's Cowboys, Eagles, and they're once again perceived as one of the best two teams in the entire NFC, and they're both going to look like Super Bowl contenders. You know, playoff concerns aside for the favorites once again within the conference, because they've got a very talented roster, and they've got the second-team All-Pro quarterback of last year. They've got CeeDee Lamb, who was a candidate for Offensive Player of the Year. They've got Micah Parsons, who was a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, and then they've got Trevon Diggs, Daron Bland, two All-Pro corners. They've got the pieces, right? Perhaps the best guard duo in the entire league. So while we complain about the Cowboys not making this and that move to take the next step or to maybe make it easier on Dak and Mike McCarthy and all that, it's still a pretty good team and a team that is expected to win ball games. And meanwhile, the Eagles are in this weird spot, and we're going to start with them because here's how I view things. In fact, let me hold on to that thought. Let me tell you what the record prediction was from Eagles writer for A2Z Sports, Kelsey Kramer. She's been on the show, by the way. She joined us for a mock draft in April. She had the Eagles going 14-3. That's a high number from Kelsey right there. Spoiler alert, that would mean, based on my win-loss prediction for the Cowboys, that the Eagles are winning the division in 2024, which would fit a 20-year trend of not having the same team win it every year. Let's get to it. Let's break down. Do you agree or disagree with Kelsey Kramer? Let me know in the chat. Do you think the Eagles are going to win over or under 14 games? It's a high number, obviously, but she's bullish on the Eagles. Now, big part of her logic, though, surrounded their weakest link being turned into their strongest link in a matter of weeks. And I quote, they brought back C.J. Gardner-Johnson in free agency, which was a massive move, and drafted two of the best and versatile defensive backs in the 2024 NFL draft, being Quinjon Mitchell out of Toledo and then Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. These two corners were considered by many top three corner prospects in the 24 NFL draft. That is massive, and I think that is one of the two biggest storylines for the Eagles going into 2024. Here's the thing about Philly. This is what I was going to say a little bit earlier. I think the Eagles' range is larger than the Cowboys' range. And I think they've got a better chance at winning 14 games than the Cowboys do. However, I think they also have a higher likelihood of winning 7 games than the Cowboys do. That's what I mean by range. And I say that for two specific reasons. Number one, and I think this is the easy one, right? You're betting too much on two rookie cornerbacks. Like Quinton Mitchell, Cooper DeJean are steals. There's no doubt about that. But they're still rookies and they're still inexperienced, and they're going to play against CD Lamb, right? They're going to play against Brandon Cooks. They're going to play against very good wide receivers in the NFC East, even with the Commanders, where you've got to deal with Terry McLaurin, for example. And with the Giants, they're going to have to deal with Malik Neighbors, who was a top 6 draft pick in April. So it's not going to be an easy task for them to turn that into the strongest unit of the Eagles at all. However, you can see it happening, which is what I mean by saying, hey, the Eagles defense might be back, right? Even though they traded away Hassan Reddick, did a good job filling that hole, in my opinion, right? They still have a strong defensive line. But when I say that the Eagles have these wild ranges, because I could see this cornerback room being boom or a bust. Now, there's also the aspect of their coaching. I think it was a good response by Philly to move on from their coordinators from last year as abruptly as they did in 24, because that was not going to work out, right? If they had doubled down on Brian Johnson, I would be very low on the Eagles. If they had doubled down on Matt Patricia or Sean Desai and their whole chaos that they had going on, a defensive coordinator, I would be extremely low on the Eagles. Instead, what the front office seemed to have done was tell Nick Sirianni, you know what, we'll give you another shot, Sirianni, because you took us to the Super Bowl, man. You took us to the Super Bowl, took us to a great start in 2023, but we're going to give you the coordinators now. And it's going to be proven, I mean, I don't know if you can call Kellen Moore proven, but at least a big-name coordinator around NFL coaching circles, right? We're going to give you Kellen Moore. We're going to give you Big Fangio, and let's see if you can make it work. So this feels like the front office is now challenging Nick Sirianni, right? They kind of gave him a big-name coaching staff now, and it's now up to him to prove that the Eagles, that he can take back the Eagles to that Super Bowl contention that they had years prior. Now, that is what I mean when I say that, okay, I could see the Eagles going 7 wins or 14 wins, because they're a very talented roster. It's going to come down to coaching, whether or not it improved, and we're just scratching the surface here, but I think that's a big storyline for the Eagles, as well as a cornerback room with young blood being injected to the cornerback position, because, man, that is a concerning position for the Eagles after what happened late in the year last year when they were perhaps the worst secondary in all of football. And I know the Lions get a lot of criticism for the way that their pass defense worked. You look at DVOA, the Lions were much closer to average in that sense, while the Eagles were literally the 29th best passing defense per DVOA. Like, it was bad football from the Eagles secondary. Can they make that work? And I do think that the Eagles like to do a lot of Big Fangio type stuff. So who better to bring in than Fangio himself? I can see that working out for the Eagles. So Kelsey has them going 14-3. I thought that was a high number, yet one that I kind of understand. But if you look at the Cowboys then, and this is from me, I have them going 11-6. And listen, to me, that might be enough to win the division. In this case, it isn't, right? In this exercise that we put together, I don't think the Eagles are going to win 14 games, though. I think they're going to be closer to the Cowboys, right? I think this is going to be a season again in which the Cowboys and the Eagles are both going to scratch 12 wins. Maybe a little bit lower now, though, because they have question marks to answer. They have tougher schedules as well. Cowboys, though, first in points per game, 30.1. And I think they're going to hit the ground running, though, in 2024, at least from a philosophical standpoint. At least it seems to me that they should know who they want to be versus 2023 when Mike McCarthy had just taken over the offense, maybe wanted to do some stuff that was not working out for them early on in the year, especially when they played the big opponents like the San Francisco 49ers and then the Chargers before they fell apart right earlier in the season. They were still considered like a quality matchup with Justin Herbert and all that. Then after that, they start being much more pass happy and they start putting these games a little bit more on Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and that's when the offense takes off. Now that the Cowboys know what they want to do, or at least know what works and what doesn't work, and especially in that final game versus the Packers where they suddenly decided to be conservative again and it blew up on their faces, they should know exactly who they want to be. So betting on that a little bit, I think the Cowboys offense has a shot at remaining one of the best in the league, even with a big question mark at left tackle, as they're going to let Tyler Guyton start as the first-round rookie. And I think the defense has a lot of talent to not work out. I would expect some regression just because the Cowboys have been so good over the last 3 years statistically, but can they be better situationally versus the run, versus Kyle Shanahan-style offenses? That is going to be the major question for me. See them winning a lot of games. Not as many as 14, though. Again, I think the Eagles' range both ways is a little bit wider. I do think the Cowboys are going to be close to the 11-win mark no matter what. So if they win more than 11 games, I wouldn't see it being more than 13, and I don't see them being an 8-win team, honestly, because it's a tougher schedule, but it's also, there's a lot of winnable games in that schedule, I think. So I've got the Cowboys going 11-6, and I'll spend a little bit less time with the following ones. But what about the Washington Commanders, man? Evan Winter, who is a managing editor for A to Z Sports and also covers the Commanders, has them going 6-11. This to me feels very accurate. I think the Commanders have some weapons. And obviously, you've got Jaden Daniels joining the team. I think, here's the thing about the Commanders. I don't know about their roster, right? I have concerns at defensive end. They got Armstrong. They got Fowler. Cowboys fans, you know him very well. But I just don't think they're the guys you want to be looking at as starters, and that's basically what the Commanders are being forced to do. I think they elevated their floor quite a lot, and they've got Scary Terry at wide receiver. They've got some dudes on that team. I'm just concerned about the overall roster, but I love the direction. I'm not sure about Dan Quinn as the head coach. I think out of the 8 new head coaches in the league, or at least in new positions, he's perhaps the worst hire. But I love what they're doing with the front office. I just think it's a serious franchise now versus previous years with Dan Snyder. So I could see the improvement happening. 6 games seems to me like a very realistic number. Now, for the New York Giants, though, I went with a very low number, man. This, even with Andrew Thomas, who is one of the best tackles in the league right now, even with Andrew Thomas, that's a poor offensive line in New York. They've got question marks at quarterback, right? Daniel Jones, Drew Luck. They're going to be starting in week 1, either one of the two. We don't know if it's going to be Jones as he navigates an injury. I just don't see what they've got going for them. It's a little bit more of a loaded wide receiver room. They've got Neighbors. They got Jalen Hyatt. They've got Hutchins. They added Allen Robinson. There's a lot of names on that Giants wide receiver room. I just don't know about the offensive line. Don't know about the quarterback. Don't know about the defense. Shout out Dexter Lawrence, one of the best in the NFL at defensive tackle. Bobby Okereke has been good at linebacker, obviously. Perhaps an underrated player in the league. That's pretty much where it stops for me with the Giants defense. So, I see as a potential contender for the number 1 overall pick, just to give you an idea as to how I feel about them. So, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, NFC East predictions. Let me know what you think, though, in the chat. Excited about seeing your thoughts. And on Thursday night, I'll be live talking Cowboys training camp with you. In the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow as well with another quick hitting video. Have a good one, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.